Awareness is a really key issue. Uh, some people are more than willing to volunteer, but they're not aware
Of how.
of how and what the opportunities are and those kinds of things. And we found that
I can understand that.
it was amazing that given the military civilian divide that exists with lower and lower proportions of our citizenry going into the military, and that's a diminishing number, as you well know.
Yeah.
40% of our youth are not even aware or haven't even considered the possibility of serving in the military. And it's not so much because they don't want to, it's perhaps because they're not aware. We found that
Interesting.
A certain proportion of the United States, generally the South and the West, 45 years ago provided probably about 40%. Now that figure has grown to 70% of the military.
Oh, wow.
So what's happening is we're going to
Everybody's from Texas or California.
or Florida or Alabama,
Yeah.
Mississippi, or those states. You're absolutely right.
You always find one from Texas. In every unit, there's always like, all right, yeah, he's Texas.
Yeah, you can tell them. They have the big hat, right? And the big boots.
But no cattle.
Oh, okay.
Awareness is a key issue, and so we're trying to, as a commission, determine ways that we can, in fact, enhance that opportunity for people to become aware, which we think will inspire them to serve, which is what our overall objective might be.
Gotcha. What are some methods of and you've talked about traveling. What are some of your methods of gathering data and feedback from the public for the commission? Like, what have you guys, it's been, 2 years on the road and you've got an online presence. What are some ways that you guys are getting out and making people aware of the commission? I know we're towards the end,
But it's not too late.
That's right.
It's not too late. We're 11 appointed commissioners. We're part-time folks. We generally spend 3 to 4 days a month worth of work on it, but we have a full-time staff of professionals in the public engagement realm, in the research realm, a couple lawyers too, because they're everywhere.
Is this like a term for civilian employees? Is it contracted? Like, how is it GS?
We have a couple of contract people in some specialist areas, but we have term employees.
Roger.
Overall.
Roger.
And all the comments that we've gotten in all the different forms via social media, via our website. I think folks have even written into us, have mailed things to us. All those are actually data analyzed. They're doing the keyword search, looking for the topics and the like, and seeing and graphing them. And we've been looking at those to see how do those resonate with what we've heard when we sit down at people. We're seeing things in the public comments that I heard sitting at a little kids table in a children's library in a 1,000-person town in the heart of Texas, as I was having a conversation with a half dozen evangelical preachers about what their thoughts on service is.
Wow.
Fascinating. I mean, truly fascinating experience.
How do you decide on where to go? Because, America's so big.
That's why we started off with the census.
Okay.
Plagiarism is purest form of flattery.
Absolutely.
They figured out how to divide up the country, so we'll use those as a guide. And then we had some research criteria. We need to look at the urban areas where population are urban and suburban, exurban. Then there are the more not urban. Rural's a bit of a pejorative nowadays. But so we'd go to a place, and then a couple of commissioners and staff would get in the cars and go long an hour or two to get to these smaller communities, while some were someplace in a more downtown and getting those looks and looking to get the statistical sample and talk to folks regionally and by professions and by the types of service. So like I had the opportunity to talk with preachers. We had the opportunity, Mr. Allard, I believe, to help facilitate us getting with the program in downtown Los Angeles that deals with former offenders and people who've served significant time in prison about how they serve their community. And then we've talked with general officers, first time enlisted, senior NCOs, why do you serve in the military? We've talked with small town mayors who are fighting the opioid crisis and how they make use of national service and local volunteers to bring together coordinated teams, along with their fire chief and their police chief, and all these people come together in a place like Nashua, New Hampshire. They've got volunteers, they've got former addicts who are now counselors, they've got AmeriCorps volunteers, all of that sitting around a table trying to figure out how to help their fellow citizens. It's really remarkable. That is America.
Yeah. I think that's the coolest part about your commission, is that you're using the census. I think it's one of the coolest things about your commission is you're using the census to get the full American picture, the full American public opinion on what you're supposed to be studying. I think that's so cool.
Thank you. We also had hearings, public hearings, where we had experts, renowned experts, come and testify. And then we purposely built in a public opinion opportunity following those stated testimonies. And it was remarkable to hear some of the things being said from the common everyday person. I'm not diminishing their role. As a matter of fact, I'm elevating it.
Well, yeah.
Because we also got a lot of insights from those public comments. And then we provided, as we did from the experts, and then we also provided,
that's what I love about this. Everyone has a voice.
Yeah,
that's so
everybody
cool.
had a voice, and we are desperately seeking additional voices.
Yeah.
So again,
your online presence.
31 December of this year, we're open for all public comments, and the website again is inspire2serve.gov.
I love how you plug it throughout the whole show, because no matter where anybody clicks on this podcast, they're going to get ad voice go, hey, this is the website.
Thank you, sir.
That's awesome. Through the commission, what are some myths that many feel are true about selective service that you've heard? And you're like, that ain't true.
Well, I can say, having been there, that there's a...
Having been there as in you've believed in this myth?
No, having been there as a part of the selective service system.
Gotcha.
That there's a general lack of understanding and awareness about the selective service.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't know that young men 18 to 25 are required by law to register with selective service. And if they don't, there are penalties associated with that lack of registration. And that's unfortunate, because if they do find out, sometimes it's too late to correct their error.
Yeah.
So that is a major problem, which, frankly, the commission is looking at and trying to figure out ways to modify if we continue the selective service.
Yeah.
We're also trying to figure out ways to modify that.
Make it easier for people
Make
to
it
register.
easier for them to register and be aware that they are registering.
So is it, I mean, what's the most basic ways? Isn't it like getting your driver's license or your social security card?
Depends on where you live.
Really?
So the easiest and most direct way is to go to the Selective Service System's website, and an individual could sign up that way, or they can fill out the postcard and send it in. Many states, not all, in the District of Columbia and other places, but states and territories have the ability for you to sign up while getting your driver's license. Some
So that's not with every state.
it's not.
Wow.
So
Did not know that.
it's depending upon where an individual lives will guide how they encounter the selective service system, whether they're given additional opportunities as opposed to just their personal responsibility under the law, as Ed explained, to register.
What are some other ways that you see in states? Because of course, Washington State for me it was driver's license. What are some other ways that you guys were seeing?
For instance, it's very unique to Alaska because they have their wealth fund, and they're from the oil revenues where every Alaska resident get those with some qualifications, I believe, as to how long they've lived there and the like. But if you're an Alaskan male who's not registered with the Selective Service System during an obligation, you can't qualify for that annual check.
Gotcha.
That's
an
an incentive.
They dangle a carrot there,
And they have one of the higher compliance rates.
Yeah.
Because there's a check attached to it.
So they're like, hey, sign up for okay. By the way, here's Selective Service.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and another way is that when people apply for a Pell Grant or things like that, they're required to have a registration number with Selective Service, or else they cannot get a Pell Grant. And but we found one of the most effective ways is that if we send a letter to the home of the young man at this point, and perhaps even in the future, if the mother of that young man receives the letter, believe me, the young man gets the word that they need to register, because you're looking at tuition money, you're looking at college assistance, you're looking at federal jobs that if you don't register, you're barred from getting. If you've ever gone on USA Jobs, I can assure you that at the bottom of that application form, it does say, "Are you registered with Selective Service?"
Yeah.
And if you're not qualified for a federal job. And again, many young people are not aware of that.
Yeah. Wonder how that's checked. Anyway, I'm not HR. Whatever.